crystal champagne flute caught the country club's chandelier light perfectly as my wife raised it high above her head. Danielle had always been dramatic, but tonight she was performing for an audience of Boston's most gossip-hungry suburban elite, and she knew exactly how to work a room. "Ladies and gentlemen," she announced, her voice carrying that practiced event planner projection that could silence a room full of chattering socialites. "I want to make a toast tonight, to new beginnings, to fresh starts, and most importantly—" She paused for effect, her perfectly manicured fingers gripping the stem as her eyes found mine across the crowded room. "To celebrating my own divorce." The eruption of laughter and cheers that followed made my stomach turn. Sabrina Lane, Danielle's best friend and tonight's hostess, nearly spilled her wine as she doubled over with delight. Melissa Chan immediately whipped out her phone, no doubt already crafting the Instagram story that would make this moment go viral in our little corner of affluent Massachusetts. Oliver Burke, the smarmy lawyer who'd been circling Danielle like a vulture for months, raised his glass with theatrical enthusiasm. "Oh my God, Danielle, you're absolutely savage," Sabrina shrieked, wiping tears of laughter from her eyes. "Poor Victor doesn't even know what hit him." I stood there in my navy blazer, nursing a whiskey that had gone warm in my hand, watching my wife of 18 years turn our marriage into entertainment for people who wouldn't remember our names in 5 years. The crowd was eating it up. These were the same people who'd smiled at me for nearly 2 decades, who'd attended our anniversary parties, who'd sent flowers when Danielle miscarried our second child. But I wasn't surprised. I wasn't even hurt anymore. Because 3 weeks ago, I'd found the hotel receipts hidden in Danielle's event planning files. I'd seen the calendar appointments that read Gregory Lane Consultation, scheduled during hours when I knew damn well Gregory was supposed to be at his real estate office. I'd watched my wife spend 45 minutes getting ready for a quick coffee meeting with a client, applying makeup like she was heading to a photo shoot. Gregory Lane, Sabrina's husband, the man currently standing 10 feet away from his wife, looking like he'd swallowed his tongue. The laughter was starting to fade, but Danielle wasn't finished. She never knew when to stop. "I mean, seriously, look at him," she continued, gesturing toward me with her champagne flute. "Standing there like a lost puppy. Victor, honey, this is the 21st century. Women don't have to settle anymore. We can trade up." More laughter. More phones coming out to record. I caught Mrs. Lipman, our elderly neighbor, watching from the corner with the sharp-eyed attention of someone who'd been collecting secrets for 73 years. I took a slow sip of my whiskey and walked across the room. The crowd parted slightly, expecting some kind of scene. Maybe they thought I'd beg. Maybe they thought I'd make a fool of myself. Instead, I stopped directly in front of Sabrina Lane, close enough that my voice would carry to the people around us, but not so loud that it would seem like I was performing. "Why are you laughing, Sabrina?" I asked, my tone conversational, almost friendly. "She'll be back with your husband before the night ends?" The effect was immediate and devastating. Sabrina's wine glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the marble floor. The laughter faded so abruptly, it felt like someone had unplugged the room's sound system. Gregory's face went from confused to pale to absolutely terrified in the span of 3 seconds. Danielle's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. "Victor, what the hell are you talking about?" I didn't answer her. I kept my eyes on Sabrina, watching the realization dawn across her face. She was a smart woman. It wouldn't take her long to put the pieces together. "Ask your husband about the Marriott downtown," I said quietly. "Tuesday afternoons. Ask him about the consultation fees he's been paying to Danielle's company for projects that don't exist." The silence stretched out like a wire about to snap. Melissa's phone was still recording, but her hand had started to shake. Oliver Burke looked like he wanted to disappear into the wallpaper. I finished my whiskey in one swallow and set the glass down on the nearest table. "Enjoy the rest of your party," I said to no one in particular and walked toward the exit. Behind me, I heard Sabrina's voice. "Gregory, we need to talk, now." I was halfway to my car when the shouting started. The next morning, I sat in my home office with a cup of coffee and 3 manila folders spread across my desk. 18 years of marriage had taught me that Danielle was brilliant at event planning, but terrible at covering her tracks. She approached infidelity the same way she approached everything else, with meticulous organization and a complete lack of subtlety. The first folder contained credit card statements. Our joint American Express showed a pattern that would have been obvious to anyone who bothered to look. Lunch charges at expensive restaurants on days when Danielle claimed to be scouting venues alone. Hotel bar tabs at times when she was supposedly in client meetings. 2 charges for the same afternoon at a spa that offered couples packages. The second folder held printed emails and calendar screenshots. Danielle had never been particularly careful about her digital security. Her iPad synced with her phone, and she'd never changed the password from our anniversary date. The emails between her and Gregory were professional on the surface, but riddled with inside jokes and scheduling that made no business sense. Looking forward to our private consultation this afternoon, I have some ideas about intimate spaces that I think you'll appreciate. D. The venue you showed me yesterday was perfect, especially the bedroom suite. We should definitely book it for future projects. G. The third folder was the smoking gun, courtesy of Mrs. Lipman. Our neighbor had developed the habit of photographing suspicious activity in the neighborhood ever since someone had been stealing packages from front porches. She'd handed me a manila envelope 3 days ago, with the kind of conspiratorial whisper that suggested she knew exactly what she was giving me. The photos were crystal clear. Danielle and Gregory in the parking lot of the Marriott, his hand on her lower back as they walked toward the entrance. The two of them in Gregory's BMW outside a wine bar in downtown Boston, sitting close enough that there was no question about their relationship. Danielle coming out of Gregory's real estate office at 6:30 p.m. on a day when Sabrina had posted on Facebook about taking her kids to soccer practice. I'd spent 3 weeks collecting this evidence, not because I wanted to save my marriage, but because I wanted to end it on my terms. My phone buzzed. A text from Janice Harper, my office manager. Holy shit, Victor. Melissa Chan's Instagram is going nuclear. Anna, what did you do last night? I opened Instagram and found Melissa's story from the country club. She'd posted the entire confrontation, complete with slow-motion replays of Sabrina dropping her wine glass and Gregory's face going white. The comments were already in the hundreds. OMG, did Victor just expose an affair? Sabrina is going to murder Gregory. I always knew something was off about Danielle and Greg. This is better than reality TV. My phone rang. Detective Eddie Doyle, my drinking buddy from the local pub, calling way too early for a social conversation. Victor, you magnificent bastard. Eddie's voice was full of admiration. Half the precinct saw Melissa's Instagram story. Please tell me you've got evidence to back up whatever nuclear bomb you dropped last night. I've got enough evidence to bury them both, I said. Question is, what's the smartest way to use it? Legally speaking, you document everything, file for divorce, and let the lawyers handle it. Personally speaking, you make sure Sabrina sees everything before Gregory has a chance to spin it. I looked at the folders on my desk. What if I told you I already had a plan for that? Eddie laughed. Then I'd say you're 3 steps ahead of everyone else, as usual. Just don't do anything that'll get you arrested. I like you, but I'm not covering for you if you do something stupid. After Eddie hung up, I opened my laptop and created a new email account. It took me 20 minutes to scan the most damning evidence and write a brief, factual summary. No editorializing, no emotional manipulation, just dates, times, locations, and photographic proof. I addressed the email to Sabrina Lane and hit send. Then I called my lawyer. By noon, my phone was ringing constantly. I let every call go to voicemail. Danielle's messages started apologetic and quickly escalated to furious. Victor, we need to talk. Whatever you think you know, you're wrong. How dare you embarrass me like that? In front of everyone? You're being ridiculous. Gregory and I are business associates, that's all. Pick up your phone, Victor. We're going to settle this like adults. The last message came at 2:17 p.m. I'm coming home. We're going to fix this. I was ready for her. Danielle's BMW pulled into our driveway at 2:45 p.m., tires squealing against the asphalt like she was arriving at a crime scene. Through the window of my home office, I watched her sit in the car for a full minute, probably rehearsing whatever speech she'd prepared during the drive from her office. She looked perfect, as always. Hair freshly styled, makeup flawless, despite what must have been a morning from hell. Danielle had always believed that looking the part was 90% of winning any argument. I heard her heels clicking across the hardwood floor of our foyer, then the sound of her dropping her purse and keys on the kitchen counter with more force than necessary. She was building up to a performance. Victor. Her voice carried that particular edge that meant she'd moved past apologetic and landed squarely in attack mode. Get down here, now. I took my time walking downstairs. Danielle was standing in our living room, arms crossed, still wearing the black power suit she'd probably chosen specifically for this confrontation. Behind her, the afternoon light streaming through our bay windows illuminated the framed photos that documented 18 years of marriage, our wedding day, anniversary dinners, the vacation to Italy where we talked about growing old together. Sit down, she said, gesturing toward the couch like she was directing a business meeting. We're going to talk about what happened last night. I remained standing. What's to talk about? You announced your divorce plans to half of Boston. I just helped clarify the timeline. Don't be cute, Victor. You know exactly what you did. Her voice was rising, the careful control starting to slip. You humiliated me in front of my friends. You made wild accusations about Gregory. You turned what should have been a fun evening into a complete disaster. Wild accusations? I pulled out my phone and opened the photo gallery. Is that what we're calling evidence now? I showed her the first photo, her and Gregory in the Marriott parking lot. Her face went through the same progression I'd seen on Gregory the night before. Confusion, recognition, panic. Where did you get that? Mrs. Lippman has a new hobby, neighborhood watch. I swiped to the next photo. This one's my personal favorite. Tuesday afternoon, outside Gregory's office. Wasn't that the day you told me you were meeting with the catering company about the Henderson wedding? Danielle's mouth opened and closed without sound. For the first time in years, she was completely speechless. Oh, and before you try to convince me these are innocent business meetings, I pulled up the credit card statements on my phone. The Marriott charged us for a room, not just the restaurant. The spa package was for 2 people, and according to my calculations, you've been billing Gregory's company for about 30 hours a week of consultation time, which is interesting since his actual projects only require about 5 hours of event planning per month. She sank onto the couch, her perfect posture finally cracking. Victor, you don't understand. It's not what it looks like. Really? Because what it looks like is that you've been sleeping with your best friend's husband for at least 3 months, using our joint credit card to pay for hotel rooms, and lying to me about where you've been every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon. In 18 years of marriage, I'd never spoken to her like that. I'd been the understanding husband, the supportive partner, the man who cleaned up her messes and smiled when she needed me to. How long have you known? She asked quietly. 3 weeks, since I found the first hotel receipt in your files. 3 weeks? Her voice was getting stronger, anger replacing shock. You've known for 3 weeks and you said nothing? You let me make that toast last night knowing you were going to destroy me? I sat down across from her, leaning back in my chair like we were discussing vacation plans. I wanted to see how far you'd go. Turns out, pretty far. You bastard! She was on her feet now, pacing in front of the coffee table. You manipulative, vindictive bastard. You set me up. I didn't set you up, Danielle. I just gave you enough rope to hang yourself, and you did a beautiful job. My phone buzzed with a text message. I glanced at it and couldn't help smiling. What? Danielle demanded. Text from Eddie Doyle. Apparently Sabrina threw Gregory's golf clubs into their swimming pool this morning, the expensive ones, the full set he bought for his birthday. Danielle's face went white. She knows? She knows everything. I sent her copies of all the evidence about an hour after I left the party last night. Photos, credit card statements, hotel records, the works. I stood up and walked to the window. I figured she deserved to know what her best friend and her husband were doing behind her back. You snake. Danielle's voice was barely a whisper. You destroyed my friendship with Sabrina. You destroyed Gregory's marriage. You destroyed everything. I turned back to face her. No, Danielle. You destroyed everything. I just made sure the right people found out about it. She stared at me for a long moment, and I could see her calculating. Danielle's mind worked like a computer when she was cornered, running through options and scenarios at lightning speed. Okay, she said finally. You're right. I made mistakes, but we can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can work through this like adults. 18 years of marriage doesn't have to end because I made some bad decisions. Bad decisions? I laughed, and the sound was harsh even to my own ears. Danielle, you didn't forget to pick up milk from the grocery store. You didn't accidentally double book a client meeting. You systematically lied to me for months while you carried on an affair with our friend's husband. You used our joint credit card to pay for hotel rooms where you slept with another man. And last night, you announced your intention to divorce me to a room full of people as a punchline to a joke. I was drunk. I didn't mean... You meant every word. I walked to the front door and opened it. And now you need to leave. This is my house too, Victor. Actually, it's not. I pulled a folded document from my jacket pocket. I spoke with my lawyer this morning. Turns out using joint marital funds to finance an extramarital affair is considered dissipation of marital assets. Since the house was purchased with money from my commercial real estate business, and since you've been systematically misusing our joint accounts, I have grounds to claim sole ownership pending the divorce proceedings. Danielle snatched the document from my hand and read it quickly, her face growing paler with each paragraph. You can't do this. I already did. You have until Friday to collect your personal belongings. After that, anything left in the house becomes my property. She stood in the doorway for a moment, looking back at the living room like she was seeing it for the first time. When she turned back to me, her eyes were filled with a rage I'd never seen before. "This isn't over, Victor. You think you're so smart, but you have no idea what you've just started." "Actually, Danielle, I think it's exactly what I finished." I closed the door and locked it behind her. The next 72 hours were like watching a controlled demolition in slow motion. I sat in my home office, fielding calls from my lawyer, and watching Danielle's carefully constructed social world collapse one relationship at a time. Melissa Chan's Instagram had become ground zero for the gossip explosion. She'd posted a follow-up story with the caption, "When the tea is scalding," along with a compilation of screenshots from various group chats. The comments section read like a real-time documentary of suburban scandal. Sabrina changed her Facebook status to "It's complicated," and then deleted Gregory from all her photos. I heard Gregory is staying at the Hampton Inn because Sabrina changed the locks. Danielle's assistant posted a cryptic story about loyalty and fake friends. Drama. My mom plays tennis with Mrs. Lane, and apparently the divorce papers are already being filed. My phone rang. Janice Harper, calling from the office. "Victor, I've got 3 clients asking if the rumors about your divorce are true, and 2 more wanting to know if it's going to affect their lease negotiations. How do you want me to handle this?" "Tell them my personal life doesn't interfere with my professional commitments. Any client who's concerned about my ability to do my job is welcome to find another commercial real estate agent." "Got it. Also, there's a woman here who says she's Danielle's business partner. Jennifer Walsh. She wants to talk to you about some kind of financial situation." I knew Jennifer. She and Danielle had started their event planning company together 5 years ago, though Danielle had always been the face of the business, while Jennifer handled the back office operations. "Send her back." Jennifer Walsh looked like she hadn't slept in 2 days. Her usually perfect blonde hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, and she was clutching a manila folder like it contained nuclear launch codes. "Victor, thank God you're here. I need to talk to you about Danielle and the business accounts." She sat down across from my desk and opened the folder. "I've been going through our books since yesterday, trying to figure out why we're suddenly short on operating capital. Look at this." She spread out bank statements and invoices across my desk. 3 months ago, Danielle started billing a client called Lane Development Consulting for extensive event planning services. The invoices show payments of $1,500 per session, twice a week. I studied the paperwork. Let me guess. Lane Development Consulting doesn't actually exist. "Oh, it exists. It's Gregory Lane's personal consulting company. But Victor, we never planned any events for him. These invoices are completely fabricated." The implications hit me immediately. "She was laundering the affair through your business. Gregory was paying for hotel rooms and dinners by writing checks to your company for fake consulting work." Jennifer nodded miserably. $24,000 over 3 months. And since it was going through our business account, I was paying taxes on income from services we never provided. Where's the money now? Gone. Transferred to Danielle's personal account in small increments. She told me it was for client entertainment and business development. I leaned back in my chair, processing this new information. Danielle hadn't just been cheating on me, she'd been defrauding her own business partner to finance the affair. "Jennifer, you need to call your lawyer. Today. This isn't just about a divorce anymore. This is about business fraud." She buried her face in her hands. "Our company is ruined, isn't it? Even if we can prove Danielle was acting alone, who's going to hire us after this scandal? Half our clients came through Sabrina Lane's social circle." My phone buzzed with a text from Big Mike, my friend who ran a towing company in downtown Boston. "Heard about your situation through Eddie. If you need any favors, let me know. I owe you one from the Fenway deal." An idea started forming in my mind. "Jennifer, what would it take to save your business?" She looked up, surprised by the question. "Honestly, I'd need to distance myself completely from Danielle, rebrand the company, and probably take a loss on about 6 months of operating expenses while I rebuild the client base." "What if I told you I might be able to help with the client base?" "What do you mean?" I opened my laptop and pulled up my contact database. I've been negotiating commercial leases in Boston for 12 years. I know restaurant owners, hotel managers, corporate event planners, wedding venue operators, people who need reliable event planning services and don't care about suburban gossip. Jennifer's eyes widened. "You'd do that? After what Danielle did to you?" "I'd do it because of what Danielle did to you. You didn't deserve to get caught in the crossfire of her affair." My office door opened and Janice stuck her head in. "Victor, sorry to interrupt, but there's a situation developing in the parking lot." Through my office window, I could see Danielle's BMW parked next to my car. She was sitting behind the wheel, talking animatedly on her phone. As I watched, she got out and started walking toward the building entrance. "She's been out there for 20 minutes. Janice said. I think she's working up the courage to come inside. Jennifer gathered her paperwork quickly. I should go. I don't want to be here when she arrives. Take the back exit, I suggested. And Jennifer, call that lawyer today. Don't let her destroy your business along with everything else. After Jennifer left, I sat at my desk and waited. Danielle would come upstairs eventually. She'd never been good at strategic retreats. 5 minutes later, I heard her heels clicking down the hallway. She appeared in my doorway wearing a different outfit than the day before, jeans and a sweater that made her look younger, more vulnerable. It was a calculated choice. We need to talk, she said. No, we don't. She came into my office anyway and closed the door behind her. Victor, this has gone too far. Sabrina won't return my calls. Gregory's wife has filed for divorce, and she's telling everyone who'll listen that I'm a home wrecker. My clients are canceling contracts. Jennifer is talking about dissolving our business partnership. Sounds like the consequences are catching up with the actions. Don't be smug. This affects you, too. She sat down across from my desk, leaning forward in the pose she used when she was trying to be persuasive. Half our social circle thinks you're vindictive and cruel. The other half thinks you're pathetic for not fighting for your marriage. Either way, your reputation is damaged, I laughed. Danielle, my reputation is based on my ability to negotiate commercial real estate deals, not on what a bunch of bored suburban housewives think about my personal life. That's not true, and you know it. Business relationships are built on personal trust. If people think you're the kind of man who destroys lives for revenge, I'm the kind of man who exposes the truth when his wife lies to him for 3 months. I stood up and walked around my desk, stopping directly in front of her chair. And if you think anyone in this situation looks vindictive and cruel, take a look in the mirror. Her composure finally cracked. I made a mistake, okay? I got caught up in something that felt exciting and new, and I made terrible decisions. But I never meant for it to go this far. You never meant to get caught? That's not fair. Fair? I sat on the edge of my desk, looking down at her. Let me tell you what's not fair, Danielle. What's not fair is lying to your husband for 3 months. What's not fair is using joint marital funds to pay for hotel rooms where you sleep with another woman's husband. What's not fair is defrauding your business partner to cover the costs of your affair. What's not fair is announcing your divorce plans as a punchline at a party. She was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks in black streaks. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Victor. I know I hurt you. I know I made terrible choices. But we can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can rebuild trust. No, we can't. Why not? People work through affairs all the time. Couples survive this kind of thing. I reached into my desk drawer and pulled out a manila envelope. Because of this, I handed her the envelope. Inside were copies of her fraudulent invoices to Gregory's consulting company, bank transfer records, and a detailed timeline of how she'd been stealing from her own business to finance the affair. Jennifer came to see me this morning. She's filing fraud charges against you tomorrow. Danielle's face went white as she read through the documents. She can't do this. It's a civil matter, not criminal. Actually, it's both. Falsifying business records is a felony in Massachusetts. Using those falsified records to steal money from a business partnership makes it wire fraud. Jennifer's lawyer thinks the district attorney will be very interested in this case. You did this. Her voice was barely a whisper. You convinced Jennifer to file charges against me. I didn't have to convince her of anything. You stole $24,000 from your own business partner. She figured that out all by herself. Danielle stood up abruptly, swaying slightly on her feet. This is insane. You're destroying my entire life over a mistake. I'm not destroying anything, Danielle. I'm just making sure the people you've been lying to know the truth. She walked to the door, then turned back to face me. You know what the worst part is, Victor? I actually felt guilty about the affair. I was going to end it with Gregory. I was going to try to save our marriage. When, before or after you announced your divorce plans to half of Boston. I was drunk. I was angry. I said things I didn't mean. No, I said quietly. You said exactly what you meant. You just didn't expect there to be consequences. After she left, I sat at my desk for a long time, staring out the window at the Boston skyline. My phone was full of missed calls and text messages, but I didn't feel like talking to anyone. 18 years of marriage, and it had come down to this. Bank statements and hotel receipts and fraudulent invoices spread across my desk like evidence in a criminal trial. But for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe again. 2 weeks later, I was sitting in my kitchen on a Saturday morning, reading the newspaper and drinking coffee in complete silence. The house felt different without Danielle's constant noise, No morning phone calls with clients, no television playing in the background, no clicking of heels across the hardwood floors. It felt peaceful. My phone rang. Eddie Doyle, calling with his weekly update on the neighborhood drama. "Victor, you magnificent snake. Have you seen the latest developments? Enlighten me?" Gregory's divorce was finalized yesterday. Sabrina took him for everything: house, cars, half his business, and full custody of the kids. He's living in a studio apartment in Medford and driving a 10-year-old Honda. I sipped my coffee. What about Danielle? That's the beautiful part. Jennifer's fraud charges went through. Danielle pled guilty to falsifying business records and agreed to pay full restitution plus penalties. But here's the kicker. She had to liquidate her retirement accounts to cover it. She's broke, unemployed, and facing 3 years of probation. And the social situation? Eddie laughed. She's completely radioactive. Melissa Chan did a whole Instagram series about toxic friends and betrayal in suburbia. Sabrina's been telling anyone who'll listen about how Danielle destroyed her marriage. Even Oliver Burke won't return her calls. I looked around my kitchen, taking in the morning light streaming through windows that I no longer had to share with someone who'd been planning to leave me anyway. Eddie, can I ask you something? Shoot. Do you think I went too far? There was a pause on the other end of the line. Victor, let me tell you something. I've been a cop for 23 years. I've seen what happens when people try to handle betrayal with violence, with revenge fantasies, with stupid decisions that land them in jail. You handled this like a chess master. You used facts, evidence, and legal consequences. Nobody got hurt physically. Nobody went to prison for assault. You just made sure the truth came out and let the chips fall where they may. Sometimes I wonder if I should have tried to save the marriage. Save it for what? So she could keep lying to you? So she could keep stealing from her business partner? So she could keep destroying other people's marriages? Eddie's voice was firm. Victor, she made her choices. You just made sure she had to live with the consequences. After Eddie hung up, I walked out to my back deck and sat in the morning sun. The yard looked better than it had in years. I'd been spending my weekends working in the garden, planting vegetables and flowers that Danielle had always said were too much work. My phone buzzed with a text from Jennifer Walsh. Victor, wanted you to know, I signed 3 new clients this week, all referrals from your contacts. The business is going to survive. Thank you for everything. I was typing a response when I heard a car door slam in my driveway. Through the side gate, I could see Danielle walking toward my front door. She looked different, thinner, tired, wearing clothes that were nice but not designer. The woman who'd once spent $300 on a single pair of shoes was now shopping at Target. I met her at the front door before she could ring the bell. What do you want, Danielle? I came to get the last of my things, and to talk. I stepped aside and let her into the house. She walked through the living room slowly, like she was seeing it for the first time in years. It looks good, she said quietly. The house. It looks peaceful. It is. She turned to face me. Victor, I know you'll probably never forgive me. I know I destroyed everything good between us, but I want you to know that I'm sorry. Not just sorry that I got caught, but sorry for what I did. Sorry for the lies, sorry for the betrayal, sorry for turning our marriage into a joke. I studied her face, looking for signs of manipulation or calculation, but she just looked tired and sad and genuinely remorseful. I appreciate that, I said. I also want you to know that I understand why you did what you did. You could have handled this privately, quietly, but I didn't give you that option. I made it public first. I turned our divorce into entertainment. Yes, you did. She walked to the mantelpiece and picked up one of our wedding photos. Do you think we ever had a chance? Or was this always how it was going to end? It was a fair question, and it deserved an honest answer. I think we had a chance until you decided that lying to me was easier than talking to me. I think we had a chance until you decided that your excitement was more important than your commitments. I think we had a chance until you decided that our marriage was something to joke about at parties. She nodded and set the photo back down. I've been going to therapy, trying to figure out why I made such destructive choices, trying to understand how I became the kind of person who could hurt people I claimed to love. That's good. I hope it helps. It's helping me understand that what I did to you, what I did to Sabrina, what I did to Jennifer, it wasn't about any of you. It was about me feeling empty and trying to fill that emptiness with excitement and attention and drama. I walked to the kitchen and poured myself another cup of coffee. Do you want some? No, thank you. She followed me into the kitchen and sat at the breakfast bar where we'd eaten thousands of meals together. Victor, can I ask you something? Sure. Do you hate me? I considered the question while I stirred cream into my coffee. A month ago, the answer would have been yes. 2 weeks ago, it would have been absolutely. But sitting here in my peaceful kitchen, looking at this woman who'd once been the center of my world, I realized that hate required more energy than I was willing to spend on her. No, I said finally. I don't hate you. I don't trust you. I don't want to be married to you, and I don't want you in my life. But I don't hate you. That's something, I guess. She gathered her remaining belongings, a few books, some jewelry, a photo album from our early years together. At the front door, she turned back one more time. For what it's worth, Victor, you deserved better than what I gave you. You deserved honesty and loyalty and respect. I'm sorry I wasn't capable of giving you those things. I know, I said. I deserve better. That's why I'm not fighting to save this marriage. After she left, I went back to my deck and called Big Mike. Mike, it's Victor. You still owe me that favor from the Fenway deal? Absolutely. What do you need? I want to throw a party. A real party. Good food, good drinks, good people. Can you help me pull together a guest list of people who aren't interested in suburban gossip and social drama? Big Mike laughed. Brother, I know exactly the kind of party you need. Leave it to me. That evening, my house was full of people I actually enjoyed spending time with. Eddie Doyle and his wife, Jennifer Walsh and her husband, Big Mike and his crew from the towing company, Janice Harper and her boyfriend, Mrs. Lipman, who turned out to be a fascinating conversationalist when she wasn't documenting neighborhood scandals. At 10 o'clock, I stood up in my living room and raised a glass of whiskey. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to make a toast to new beginnings, to honest friendships, and to the radical idea that sometimes the best thing you can do is tell the truth and let the consequences speak for themselves. The room erupted in cheers and applause. Mrs. Lipman raised her wine glass and shouted, "To Victor, for showing us all how to handle betrayal with class." I looked around the room at these people, real people, honest people, people who understood that loyalty and integrity weren't just words you used when they were convenient. To the end of settling for less than we deserve, I said, and drained my glass. Outside, the neighborhood